started, and hopefully Irene can join us. We do have a quorum, so I'm going to do a roll call attendance. Just going across my screen. Courtney Meyer.
Here.
Mary Carney. You're here?
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Dragon? You're muted, but I saw you mouth here.
Here.
Thank you. All right, just stay with me for one more second, Dragon, so we can do the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from April 29th?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Courtney? I'll take that as a yes. Mary?
Yes. Sorry.
And Dragon?
Yes.
And I, Diana West, vote yes. And I'm also here. I don't think I did that part. Oh, here comes Irene. Perfect. Hi, Irene. We just approved the minutes.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Okay.
No worries. I know some of us have an 8 p.m. stop time, so I'm just trying to move right along here.
Let's moving on.
All right. Preservation plan summary updates. Courtney did another read through and gave some edits, so I need to look at that. And then I think we're almost to the final version of that. So hopefully that's coming soon. I thought Chris might join us, but I guess not. That's fine. All right. Old business, CPA projects, walking tour and driving tour. So Courtney and I reached out to Town Hall about Venmo payments for the walking tour. And even though it's on the town website that you can make a Venmo payment, no one has ever actually done that. And it's not actually set up, so they don't know how to do it. So they are researching it and are going to get back to us hopefully soon.
Oh, question.
Yes.
Okay. The walking tour is for the booklets. Do you pay for the driving tour?
No, that will be open source.
Okay. Okay. So, could the library sell it, or are there other points around town that could sell it?
Yeah, so this is just an option to be able to provide a digital cashless choice to give the donation in case you don't have the $5 cash on you.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I hope they can do it.
Yep.
Okay.
Also, the Historical Society is considering buying a bunch from us, just outright, and then they'll sell them and just take that money, just so it's a little bit easier for them.
Oh,
I
that's
love that
fine.
idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any other updates on the walking tour, Courtney? Okay, Brianna couldn't join us, but she texted me and said she's been in touch with Alex at Having Media, and they're hoping to do a demo this week or next week. Any other questions about the walking tour or driving tour?
No.
Great. House plaques, any updates, Irene?
Yes, I just put together, I roughed out a survey to send, and I can share my screen and show it to you. I'm also reaching out to towns that have the plaques that we like to see where they source them, because I'm not really comfortable doing it all the way through Etsy, and I'd like to find a real, producer. So I'm on that, but I would like to, in the meantime, I've sketched out what the survey would look like and the questionnaire and the announcement. I can show it to you now, or I can put it up in Google Drive.
Why don't you share your screen and show us?
Okay, so video, where's this? Oh, here we go. Okay. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. We'll do that. Can you see that?
No.
No? Mhm. Okay, hold on. Oh, share. Okay, can you
There
see
we
that?
go. It's coming.
Okay. So let me just enlarge this.
We can see it now.
Okay, good. So this is a draft, and the channels would be the social media, the town page, and any other town type of social media pages that are out there, because I think there are probably 2 out there now. Flyers that we can put in key spots around town, like schools, the library, obviously the town hall, and other businesses that might be interested in supporting it. And then we had talked about the town mailer inserts. So we'd have to schedule this and get them the information to print and insert into a town mailing.
Mhm.
And I know they come out about like maybe a month before the bills are due. The key messaging on the flyer would be some kind of upbeat messaging about the 250th anniversary and the project, and it might have to be modified for each channel space based on space. I'd like to get a QR code for interested people. They can scan it and it'll take them right over to MailChimp and or whatever the survey instrument is that we decide to use. I haven't done a QR code before, but my marketing team has, and I'm sure they can. They'll help us with that. But if anybody else has QR code generation expertise, please say so. And then the survey questions would be a repeat of the messaging about the plaque project. And then the questionnaire, the questions I'm thinking of are just to get, narrow down the interest. Since this is going out to everybody, we got to narrow it down to the houses that have a plaque marker and would be interested in getting a new and approved one. Houses that do not have a plaque marker but would be interested in getting one. And then the sub question under that is, my house was built before 1925, because that's the 100-year mark cutoff. Or I'm not sure of the date of my house, so we would have to look it up for them. My house has a plaque marker and I'm not interested in a new one. Then give us the name, address, email. And I just figured we might need to verify that they either own the property, and if they don't own the property, then they're authorized at least to make a purchase. And then, some kind of messaging that says one of us can follow up with them and just confirm or whatever the details, and end it with a thank you. So why don't you think about it? I know we want to rush, not rush, but get through this by 8, so we don't have to have a conversation about it, but I'll put it up in Google Drive and you guys can take a look at it and send me your comments, okay?
That sounds good, and I think it looks great. Makes sense to me.
Did we want to get a sense of how much people are willing to pay for one? Like, I'd be interested in one if it's $10, but if it's $500, no. Like, did we want to give like a few ranges, like
Oh,
that
that's
they'd
a
be
good
willing to?
idea.
That's why I'm trying to source them, Mary, and so I can give like the initial information will say it's in this range. It certainly won't be $500,
Right.
but it's not going to be $15 like it was, 50 years ago either. So,
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping people will like, and actually give them a schematic or some kind of a
Like a demo
basic
kind of thing.
yeah, and it could be
Mock-up.
more. Yeah, exactly, mop-up. I'm
That's
sorry,
the
my
word.
words aren't coming to me.
That's my
but,
MO, Irene.
I like the ones that everybody seemed to like, with the little decal that had just a date in it. And that would be probably less expensive than one that had, more information about the property. And because it has more lettering in it. So there'll be a price range, and maybe put in some mock-ups of them once we get a good source. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great.
All right, thank you, Irene. Any other information about house plaques? Anybody have any questions? All right, West Street Common, the use of. So Courtney went through the document and made some suggestions, and so I sent along that edited version, and I also sent a clean copy. The one question that was still up in the air was about vendor fees. Irene shared last time that a cut of the profit might be too high for most vendors, but perhaps we could ask for a percentage of just the vendor fees that the hosting organization collects. What do people think about that? Or do we just think that the fee structure we threw in there is enough? And I can also share my screen.
Yeah, I think the cut of the profits is probably not a great way to go. Just complicated
that's
and
gonna fly.
discouraging to people who are trying to sell things.
And
Right.
makes a record keeping.
Yeah.
Nightmare. Yeah. And
And how
Well,
do we
that's-
validate that if they do a lot of cash and don't, you know what I mean?
exactly. And why do we want to? We want people to use it, right? We
Mhm.
want it to be a resource. And I'll just say it. My thought is you have, for-profit events that are ticketed. And then you have, like we're, doing with the, just sort of it's not a neighborhood. It's just it's a for-profit company that's a sponsor, but it's not ticketed. It's just whoever shows up, and there's food trucks, and it's just a nice way of having a community gathering. And you have to have somebody to sponsor it and it has to be a business with, the insurance. They're paying for the insurance. They're running the show, basically. So they're putting some cost and a certain amount of risk. I mean, these are also weather related. So if it's open to the whole community, which is the idea, I don't think it should be a higher fee than a nonprofit. They should be treated as the event is nonprofit or open to the community versus the nonprofit status of the people running it or applying for the license.
Could
Does that
the
make sense?
division be whether the event requires not necessarily a ticket, because I know like Asparagus Fest asks for a donation. So just sort of a division between open to all and
Yes.
however we would define, it's not for profit, but they're definitely raking in money.
Well, they are, but they themselves are the nonprofit, and I think that's what is the distinction in the fee structure. Whereas, we've just got a small business that wants to do an event for the community, and they're bringing in food trucks and they're organizing the whole event. And if they make, money off the event, but it was a community event, why would we charge them more? Because we're not going to encourage more people to do this, and it goes for the same with, if we wanted to do a craft fair or a farmer's market or, anything that would bring the community, but people can buy things, but it's open to everybody. Because that, I think, is supposed to be the intention. And the Asparagus Festival that's its own thing. We're not going to have, if any of more of those. And that's, NPR, or what is it called?
Yeah, NEPM.
Yeah, NEPM, right. And they seem to have their own dialogue going with the town, and it's up to the town to make sure they're getting compensated for that event, for the resources that they're putting in, because it certainly doesn't seem like anybody is open to sharing that information. So
Well, that's what triggered this discussion.
It is.
Select board asked us to
absolutely, but we haven't found out much more about it. So that event, it just seems like, those meetings happen and they negotiated. None of us have been privy to it. So it's up to the town. If they want it, do it.
What if we just delete the 1 to 499 attendees and then just do it if it's 500 or more?
This
Does
you
that
mean
make
right here?
sense? Yeah. Thoughts?
Yeah,
So
$200 is a lot for like 50 people.
or one person. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just get rid of this.
Yeah, and I would do the same for the nonprofit. So we're only charging people if they have 500 or more.
Seems reasonable.
What do you think,
Yeah.
Irene?
Did, well, Jennifer Sanders was going to come down and say this has already been determined, I think. Has anybody spoken to her about this? Because she made it
Oh.
pretty clear to me that this fee structure, her fee structure, is the one that's staying. So,
Well, here's the thing. They asked us to look at this. So
they
my
asked
thought
us to
is,
look at the guidelines, and I don't think this is part of the guidelines.
we give them what we have, and if they want to use it, they can use it, and if they don't, they don't.
Great, okay. That's fine. I just think that distinguishing between, this one-off event that it's up to the town and all the resources involved to make sure they're getting compensated, that's on them. And shame on them if they don't get compensated for it. And
This is
then
the
all these
vehicle they
others-
use, though, is what they're
Right.
saying. This is how we
I know,
determine.
but we don't even know who brought that up. I think that if I could go back and remember that correctly, it was like they're people are parking on the common. It's like, for crying out loud, it's grass. It grows back, right?
Yeah,
Unless
but
it's
I guess what I would say is like with our small town, not only way, but a very frequent way that the select board uses as background and information to help push forward change and like level setting things like common fees or permit fees for other departments is by individual boards and committees moving things forward with some, information and past history. So I don't think it's for naught, I'm not sure where we'll end up after this, but I think it's good that we're looking into it.
okay, well said. I just wouldn't want to discourage an event that would bring people onto the common in a fun community way because the fees were too high. Because, these are small business people, small crafts and artisanal that I'm envisioning, of course, outside the Asparagus Festival, which actually they're making their money on these vendors.
Mhm.
And they're not, so that's a one-off, but the event itself shouldn't be so onerous on the fees that it discourages people from wanting to use it.
Well, I think ultimately it's not our job to be selling the use of the common. And I think at this point right now, it basically costs nothing to use the common, and we're not seeing people using it. And I think that has to do with the fact that there's very limited parking, there's no restrooms. Um, well, it's not off the beaten path, it's not like super, like, I think of the Belchertown Common. That common gets used a lot. They have events on it all the time, has parking, has a bunch of businesses nearby that people can probably buy something and use their bathroom. Church is right there too, that they usually collaborate as well. So again, I think that the idea behind this is it's still mostly free for Hadley residents to do something, and I think they would probably be the most likely ones to have events. I think, Irene, you mentioned that there are a couple of businesses of residents in town who are considering that for this summer. So, like I said, I think we propose this to the town and they can do with it what they would like.
They can, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
we could also say that we recognize that you were just looking for updates to the guidelines, but we also looked into this. Feel free to use it or not, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I will mention that I don't know if any of you were here on Memorial Day weekend, and the Hadley Parade, Memorial Day Parade, ended up on the Common, and there was a block party and porta potties set up, a couple, and barbecues going on, and you know, that's a nice use of the common. And I'm sure whoever it was who was organizing that, worked with the town selectmen and got the approval and the support of whatever, the police and the fire department, because they were certainly part of the parade, and the DPW, to get those porta johnies. So, you know, that's the way the common should, it's a nice use of the common.
Yeah. I believe it's organized by private citizens, and actually like DPW and other departments aren't involved at all. Because anybody can get a porta potty. I mean, Board of Health does do permits for what porta potty companies can not drop them, but have them in town. But I'm just not sure how much of an actual town organized event or cooperative event it is.
I don't think it was a town organized event, but it had something to do with whoever was organizing the parade, because it ended up on the common, and it was really fun. And, it was a nice, people put up tents, and it
The
was like a
parade
tailgate. like a
just
big
ends there.
tailgate.
It always has, and that's where they decided to start having a party,
Mhm.
which I believe is still informal.
It
Big
is informal.
spontaneous gathering.
Do they still have a
Unsanctioned,
formal
yes.
gathering at the Legion?
With
Yes,
with hot dogs and stuff, yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite
That's the
small.
parade finish
That's-
thing.
That's the official parade finisher, but it's quite small nowadays.
All right. In the interest of that, we have a lot more on the agenda. I'm going to say that we can send this to town hall with the verbiage that Courtney recommended, that we were asked to look at this. This is what we came up with. We are happy with however you move forward with it.
Sounds good.
Great, thank you. All right, annual town meeting review. So thank you again to Irene for speaking up about the steeple. It passed with very little opposition. And I recently learned that they are currently waiting on the final engineering drawings, and then they can get started.
Nice.
One thing at the meeting that did concern me, and I guess I should have read the warrant a little bit closer, is we have a senior overlay district that goes through the center of town. It includes the majority of Route 9, but it also includes the common on either side of Route 9 and Railroad Street, as well as all of Cemetery Road. So I wasn't prepared in the moment to speak about it at the meeting, but I am worried that this could mean that the Onion Warehouse could end up the way of being demolished, and something built there with the change in that zoning. So what we voted on at town meeting was to allow 3-story buildings, I guess apartment buildings, to be put in that area. And it was specifically mentioned that there is a plan for the old Hadley Meeting House function space that's next to the Hampton Inn. I guess they want to repurpose that or tear it down and build something there. But I'm wondering if we reach out to the planning board and make a request that if there's going to be zoning changes in the National Register Historic Districts, that we get notified.
Well, why not just say, please don't?
My understanding is that it already existed. It just was one big zoning blob, and like developers and whatnot had issues understanding where things were, so they just cut it into 2 different districts. They didn't add anything. So I think it had already been approved somewhere along the line.
I thought it
that
was
area.
thought it was said at town meeting, this would allow for bigger structures. So prior things like Golden Court were allowed. I think what's called the East Street Commons was allowed, which are sort of 1-story, potentially a 2-story house kind of unit, but not an actual like apartment building that's down like in Winfield or Greenleaves. And so now what we voted on at town meeting was to allow those 3-story structures.
Yeah, I definitely think we should bring it to people's attention, and I don't know, just say just I'd be direct about it. You know, if it's going to be an issue, let somebody say, "Oh, don't worry, you know, like we'll revise the thing," because who wants a 3-story apartment complex around, you know, in something around the common? I mean, that's, or Cemetery Road. We already have a house going on, being built, it's 2-story house behind us, and it's like really, you know, disappointing that was allowed, and the zoning allowed it, and apparently you can do anything you want back there, because a lot of those properties are grandfathered and don't necessarily have to adhere to building codes. So not that a 3-story apartment building would do that, but
So there's actually very little, so I shouldn't say little zoning, but there's not a whole lot that can stop you from doing what you want on private land. So that building lot you're referring to was either sold or was already owned, and there was, like, it wasn't protected land, for example. Here, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen because we moved on. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
And so, like, we have there's a specific word for it, and Chris told us about it, that, like, really, we don't have any bylaws that stop you from doing what you want if you have the frontage or the lot's the right size.
right.
So I don't really think it has to do with the idea of being grandfathered in. It's just more of like, we don't actually have enough zoning bylaws in place.
Oh, I'm not talking about the zoning bylaws necessarily. It's that whole, I think up to the Great Meadows is grandfathered even in the Hadley building codes. That's what was, when I went and I looked at what was going on back there. That's what I was told. So it's not necessarily even, yeah, well, whatever. I'm
Yeah,
losing my words, but it's concerning because it would really, like, we got the back meadows behind that is protected, and spottiness, there's a lot that's protected back there, but there are, let's just do a survey of what's protected and what's not.
that
And
already
obviously, if
exists.
you're a homeowner, if you're a property owner, you can do whatever you want, and that's what's kind of,
Correct, because there's no zoning bylaws against it. So I'm going to reach out to the planning board and ask them to give us the courtesy of reaching out to the historical commission if they do get a request to build a 3-story structure within that senior overlay district in a National Register district.
Can we go further and do it for the whole back of the Cemetery Road back to the Great Meadows? Or take a survey of what is not protected back there?
That already
I know
exists.
I know it's a separate issue. It's a separate issue. I understand that.
We already know it's protected, and it's the majority of it. What we would really need is a stricter zoning bylaw, which I think is part of the recommendations that Chris will give us in the preservation plan summary. And I think once we have that, and once we have the energy to put towards zoning bylaws, I think that that's something we should look into, because as we've already brought up, a lot of our historic resources aren't protected. And it's mainly been courtesy when people reach out to us about demolishing of historic buildings.
Okay.
All right. The history lives here signs. Courtney, thank you for putting them all up. What is the plan to take them down? Did you want any help with that?
I would love some help. If anyone's interested, I'd be happy to send the spreadsheet, and you can divvy them up, or if somebody just wants to do them all.
I would love to help. I'm available.
Thanks, Dragon.
I can help too.
Woohoo!
I'm leaving on Friday for almost 2 weeks, so I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Can't. But I'll be back, but I can't.
So Mary and Dragon, I will send you a message. And then I'm happy to store them as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
Mhm.
Courtney, can you make a note
Mhm.
1 West Street would love to have a sign next year.
Okay, great.
They were wondering why they didn't get a sign.
Okay.
So
Okay, great.
All right, new business. So Irene and I believe Courtney both brought up the Asparagus Festival and another upcoming event on the Common and how the Historical Commission can participate.
yes. So speaking of events on the Common, several years ago, before the pandemic, there were Friday nights on the Common that were organized by Valley Malt. And we reached out to them, and they're interested in running another, and they've already gotten approval from the select board and the permitting. It was going to be for June 20th. However, that night, weekend, whatever, the food truck vendors and other food and beverage participants were having trouble with staffing. So we've just circulated some alternative dates and to the organizing team, and we're going to come up with another 2 dates in the summer, one in July, hopefully one in August, and then go back to the select board and just move the event to those dates. But the good news is we're having an event on the Common, and it will be very fun.
So it was also discussed that somebody made a recommendation that we have tours. I can't remember if we talked about this, that somebody's there to, walk folks around and show them some of the historical properties. And personally, I think it should be a commission member, especially if we have the walking tour booklets there. I don't want to do it, but I'm happy to sell the books. But I don't want to do the walking itself. I'm happy to draft something for folks to look at. But if anyone's interested in that, I guess
I think this would be one of those great, opportunities to showcase and market what we're doing. And it could be with the Historical Society. The Valley Malt has said in the past, they had sort of tables, certain people could have tables to showcase their services or products or whatever, and offered, or recommended that maybe the Historical Commission would like to do this, given the publication of the book. And then the walking tour itself, I think, would be kind of fun. Logistically, it should probably be on the north side because you don't want people crossing over Route 9.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a great way to show our presence. And if we can do it and find somebody who can actually run a tour, it might be 1 or 2 tours throughout the evening. It's only a 4-hour, 3-hour event, Courtney? I mean, it's not that long. It's like 5 to 8 or 5 to 9. So you might be able to squeeze in 2. And then there was a suggestion of a raffle for money, and then the proceeds also could go to, I know it can't be the Historical Commission, but if we had a partner, it could go to the partner, like the Historical Society or Porter Phelps or somebody else.
Did you say are these events on the north end or the south end of the Common?
The north end.
Okay. And so you're still nailing down the dates?
Yes.
Dragon, do you know of any older Girl Scouts who might want to help give a tour? Maybe if they are encouraged by a commission member?
I could reach out to Amanda Kinchla's and Emily Pfeiffer's troops and see if they're available, because they're kind of the rising sophomores and seniors. We could look into that.
I think that could be a good collaboration.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And then along the same lines with the Asparagus Festival, it'd be great if we could have a table there. I think historically the Historical Society has had one. I don't know if we can share one with them. But the Asparagus Festival, as we know, charges quite a bit for tents. So I'm happy to reach out and ask if they could donate one to us. However, I'm not going to be available on the 8th. It's June 8th, right? Or June 7th. Is the
7th, maybe?
Asparagus Festival. So I don't know if anyone
I
would
am
be
not. I'm out of
interested in-
town.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I'm also not available that day.
I'll
Okay.
be
Maybe-
there for a few hours in the afternoon with the Edward Hopkins, and if you want, I'm sure they wouldn't mind if we had a stack of the books there, and
That's a good idea. And then we don't have to
at least while I'm there, if I separately
Right.
was hawking books.
Yeah, I like that idea personally. And then we don't have to like handle the table ourselves for the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
noticed it's a very long day, 10 to 7.
Yeah, and they expect you to be at your table the whole time. I'm like, most of our
Sure.
group is in the 80s. They can't be out till 7. They certainly
Brutal.
don't want to be if they've been out there in the sun all day. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
the
Brutal.
struggle.
Okay, great. So Mary, you and I can be in touch about that.
Okay, great.
Thank you. And then Irene, I know, back to the parade, I think you had sent an email about an idea for next year of maybe having the commission involved in some way.
So fun. That was so fun. That parade was a riot. And just the floats. I'm thinking, next year's 250th anniversary of the revolution, and maybe the historical commission teaming up with Porter PPH and the historical society. We get a float, and we just kind of showcase. Well, first of all, it's in May, so hang the signs. History lives here, and we're kind of dressed in period costumes, and we've got the the early settlers, the Revolutionary War costumes, or people, and the broom, and just all the things that are kind of commemorate the history of Hadley on the float. So think about it; it'd be fun.
Yeah, even if we just walk it, it might be good. I don't know how feasible it would be to get a float and all of that, but maybe somebody knows someone with a tractor, and I don't
We don't know
Yeah.
anybody with tractors.
know.
They had some pretty
Wagons, don't know
big trucks coming down here, so somebody in the next years, we ought to be able to figure that one out.
Yeah.
A nice big flatbed. So it would be
But
fun.
I really like the idea. It's actually something I was thinking about too. Like, how come we're not in this? So
Mhm.
it's a good way to educate people or let people know that we're a resource.
And especially because it's May and it's National Historic Preservation Month. I mean, that just kind of like tees it up.
Yep. Great.
All right. Anything else on this topic? Right.
Just one quick thing. I don't know any of the teachers up at the high school, but if maybe like a history class would like to get in on that with us, because it takes manpower to make a float, and we are not overwhelmed with. I don't think the Historical Society has a ton of people who are gonna do stuff. So, if we
That
do go
would
that route,
be-
maybe the high school kids would like to help.
That would be so cool. That
But
would be
most
really
of them
great.
are probably already in the parade in some way, but building the float, they might be able to do.
Mm-hmm. Or junior high, if there is a junior high anymore. What do you call it?
Middle
Give
school.
them
Middle
public
school.
service credits
Maybe middle
for
school.
whatever they're.
Yeah.
I think they have to do some public service to graduate. So
Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts.
yeah, young people, energy.
Great idea.
We still have 4-H. We must have 4-H.
Yes.
Future farmers. They're all good people.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a nice,
Alrighty.
a nice Girl Scout Bronze Award project
Hmm.
or silver. Just thinking.
Like
Thank you.
how you're thinking.
All right, so we talked about this a couple months ago, but Courtney and Dragon have very graciously agreed to be co-chairs for the commission, as I will be rotating off at the end of June. So I'm going to make a motion to appoint Courtney Meyer and E. Dragon as co-chairs following my resignation from the commission on June 30th, 2025. Do I have a second?
No,
Irene, stop being
I'm
difficult.
just kidding.
We object to your
Like, where
departure.
are you going?
Wondering if we
Second.
could somehow get you to stay, but
Yeah.
otherwise, yes.
Listen, give me some time off and maybe I'll miss it so much I'll come back, but
Okay,
I need a little break.
absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
That's
Now
our that's our goal because you do too good of a job, Diana. So I just know going into it that I am not going to be able to fill your shoes, which I am so thankful for Courtney because I feel like we make a good pair in terms of skill sets and everything, but just still having you on the commission is going to be so vital to be able to keep everything moving forward and being able to lean on you when we have knowledge deficits on things, you know.
Yes, we will definitely need to reach out to you. Hopefully not too regularly to ask questions.
And maybe you'll still be like an ambassador or something.
I'm always an ambassador for Hadley. Always.
Just Zoom bomber, like just call her during every
Well,
meeting.
this
Oh,
is my
hey.
Zoom account, so we're gonna have to figure that out.
Oh, yes.
All right, so any other discussion on this topic? All right, then we're gonna do a roll call vote. I'm just going to go across my screen. Courtney?
Yes.
Mary?
Can I vote for myself?
Yes, you have to. Well, you're voting for Dragon too.
Yeah.
Mary?
Yes.
Irene?
Yes.
Dragon?
Yes.
And I, Diana West, vote yes. All right,
Thank
motion
you,
carries.
Courtney and Dragon.
Congratulations.
All right, so you don't have to decide right this second, but Courtney is our clerk. So we do need to get somebody else to be the clerk as she will be running the meetings. And we can also see if maybe Sherry or Brianna can help with that. These meetings are recorded too, so like if you feel like you missed something, you can always relive the moments. So I'll let that percolate. All right. Russell School, Courtney has some updates. Seems like it's fairly positive news, hopefully.
Yeah, so I sent around my notes about the select board meeting that happened, I think, last week about the feasibility study that was completed. And the American Heritage Foundation, I think is what it's called, or architectural, was very adamant about wanting to make sure that this building is saved. And they really said, you know, we really, really hope that this is not demolished. So it was really nice to see somebody in that space, you know, advocating for the building. And they came up with a few different options, and they came up with the cost as well. And the cost is significantly lower than what a lot of people thought. I think the cost that was presented a few years ago was up to like $20-something million, and it's actually going to be closer to $8 million, which seems a lot more feasible. So, and then I sent around the report as well that has additional information on it, but it all sounds promising to me. I'm hoping, you know, something will move forward. I also think as a commission, we should probably read through it and maybe put together a letter to be like, hey, here are our thoughts on it, and sort of just like verbalize again that, you know, we hope this building is saved.
Mm-hmm. It's curious that was the Heritage organization involved in any of the other, or
No.
were they new?
They're new.
And that they came up with a completely different, more positive spin and recommendations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, they have very, very qualified staff. Like they have a mason who works there, et cetera. So they had people really look, and they were very confident in the cost that they estimated.
Nice. Well,
Did you see any kind of reaction from the select board in the meeting?
mhm.
No, but I was looking for one. No, I don't think so. And then, they had a couple questions. I can't remember exactly what they were, but none of them were negative.
They seem really surprised that it was
Yeah,
not the same number they'd seen before or double the number they'd seen before,
Right.
which is, I think, what most expect.
totally.
And they did ask, what is the one thing you would have us do if we could just do one thing?
Yeah.
That
And
was
I
what-
think they were looking for like roof or windows, but they're like the exterior.
yeah, it's a
They
little
said,
vague.
and they said, what's the timeline? They're like, as soon as possible. So,
Yeah.
I think it comes down to bandwidth over there, as we've seen with the town hall project. Like, it was what now, 6+ months ago that they first approached us about fixing up the town hall, and like we haven't heard anything since then. So, which is too bad because I think if they had a real champion, it could get done. But I think there's just so many other moving parts.
Mhm.
Being between town administrators doesn't help move things along. Because Mike's great, but he's not gonna want to make changes while he's just holding the seat.
Mhm.
So, did they discuss the uses of the building, or was it mostly the making it structurally sound and
They offered, I think,
usable?
3 or 4 different options. One was I can't remember the word, like base renovation. It's like above stabilization, which was the cheapest option. And then they offered a like leasing option, and then the ground lease option which is essentially the town still owns the property. And they have like first right of refusal if something happens to the building. And then I think selling it. And some of them were residents on the second floor. First floor would be community space, a bunch of different things. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just off the top of my head pitched to Courtney that there's this is not our lane, but they've got the DPW building project, which a committee has worked really hard on, but it was this, I think, sticker shock to everyone.
Mhm.
And so if, this one looks so much cheaper than they thought, if they could do the office space that the DPW needs in Russell School and then just build I know they need a bigger bay for working on trucks and for covering more trucks in the winter. And that would just be a lot cheaper to just build a big, warehousey thing instead of an office with central air and heating. And it just seems like there'd be a way to save that building and save money on the DPW. And they talked about public-private partnerships and putting in a commercial kitchen, I think on the basement floor. So, second floor could be office, first and second could be, some business being run.
Mhm.
That it just seems like there's a lot of possibilities that could be
That's
done
great.
if we're not about to spend 20 million on a DPW building.
Right.
No offense to the DP.
Exciting.
Those people are working in horrible conditions, just for the record, if anyone
Yeah.
ever watches this.
Oh,
They do
I've been in it.
office.
It's one of those trailers, right? An office trailer, a construction.
Really old
Yeah.
trailers, yeah. And our trucks are out in the
Yeah.
elements, which is not good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a mobile unit that was established probably well over 20 years ago, probably when I was a kid.
Temporary.
Right, a temporary that's never been renovated. So I did not even think of this, Mary, but this is such an amazing idea because there's nothing that says that admin spaces need to be in the same space as like
Right.
storage
It's down
or-
the street. It's not
other
hard.
functional space. Like that would be what a win-win for everybody, right?
Totally.
Unless there's something we don't know about the need to be physically near the trucks, but I wouldn't think so. Not everybody who needs
Yeah.
office space anyway. And the water treatment plant is down there too.
So do we think it's a good idea to put together a letter of some sort that, okay,
I
Great.
think so.
I can try to draft something.
Thank you.
I like
Thanks for going to the
public-private
meeting.
Partnership too, because that will bring other money in to the, expenses, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My thought was V1 because they at one point were looking to build a place that would be like a tasting room and
Ooh,
maybe
yeah.
a restaurant, but who knows? I don't know what
Is
they're
it
up
too
to these
close to
days.
the school?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's too close to
Are you not allowed
Hopkins.
to have booze near school?
Yeah.
I know
Oh,
V1 is
that's
also
really-
struggling with tariffs right now.
Yeah.
we're gonna
Oh,
talk
right,
about
yeah.
that, so, yeah.
But would a restaurant not be allowed too near a school?
With alcohol.
I don't know
but-
how exactly it works, but it's
Whatever.
definitely like a certain hundreds of feet that you have to be away from a school if you're selling alcohol,
Oh,
and I think tobacco products as well,
okay.
and probably marijuana products now.
Oh, right. Yeah, let's not sell those in the school.
Let's not.
All right, any other comments on Russell School? Okay, has anything come up since we posted this agenda last Thursday? All right, under our standing agenda items, Irene shared that there's an upcoming program this Saturday at the Port of Hope's Huntington House Museum called 40 Acres and the American Revolution, Stories of Independence and Servitude. It's from 2 to 4 p.m. on May 31st. We did write a letter of support for this program to get grant money. So if anyone's available, it'd be great if you go out and support that. Anybody know anything else about have the related things for the 250th anniversary?
Did anyone go to the Historical Society talk on the George Washington's Arsenal or something?
I meant to, and then I got sick, so I couldn't go.
Same. It's the
Oh,
exact
no.
same thing. Ah, looked interesting.
Besides what I brought up earlier, Courtney, do you have any updates on Railroad Street?
No, I just sent an email over to the new owner, Keith, like just a few hours ago to see if he had any updates, and I haven't heard back, understandably, so.
Okay.
But I'll let folks know if you.
I have Diana, you mentioned when we were talking about the zoning for the rezoning of the 3-story housing, and you mentioned an onion building. Where is that?
So that's the building we've been talking about on Railroad Street. So
Oh,
it's
okay,
the
that-
sort of derelict brick building.
Okay.
It was previously an onion warehouse. I think it was even owned by like the Onion Growers Association or something like that.
I was wondering if it was that. Okay. And that would not be, seems like a pretty good location for some housing to me, but
Yes.
that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and the building is, I think from circa 1900s, so we'd love to save it in some capacity if we can.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, like I think I would be fine if you put housing in that building.
Mhm.
I think I would just be upset if it were to be torn down and something new would be
Yeah,
built.
right,
Um,
right.
And of course, there's not a lot of parking there either.
No. And there's Route 9 has plenty of space, so let them figure it out.
Okay, our next meeting date, I think we are looking at June 24th.
Mhm.
Great. All right, we have 4 minutes. Did I rush through anything that somebody wanted to have one last comment on?
Mm-mm.
Great. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
second. All those in favor?
What's up? What's
Hi.
up?
Courtney, can I just keep you on for a minute
Yeah,
to
totally.